Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. Pamela Maldonado, joined by my girl Kelly in Vegas, bringing you 5 against the spread contest picks in the NFL. Kelly, you laid a big old stinker last week. What are we doing to rebound this time around?
Yeah, I think I've said this on every show that I've been on this week, Pam. This is not something I do on purpose, right? Like, I've been doing my best bets since I've been in media since 2016, 2017, about full time. And these best bets have been absolutely money since then. I've never had a losing season. And right now I'm having a losing season and I'm losing my mind over it. And it's really, really frustrating. And then I see tweets from like guys at BetMGM or things of that nature. And it's like, oh yeah, the public 47, 22, and 5 or something against the spread. And I'm like, I'm not purposely betting against the public on Monday. But this week, I didn't start working. I took Grandma to Albuquerque. We went to the balloon fiesta out there. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to start working on my NFL until the plane ride home. And that I'm changing it up. That's what I'm doing differently. I used to get ahead of the market. I used to care about beating the market, and getting the best of the information was also a very important thing. But there's a balance. And this week I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm not looking at NFL, not looking at Survivor. I'm not doing anything until Tuesday evening. So think long, think wrong, I guess, is what we're back to in week 6.
So, you know what? This is picks 5, and we were struggling a little bit. Yes, we went 1-4 against the spread last week for our contest picks. Kelly's best are 1-4. Mine are now 2-3 because my Cardinals also did not work out as well. So between you and I, we went 0-2 for our best bets. Here's 2 things, though, that I think that we need to recalibrate a little bit. Number 1, we did something that you and I think in like of the seasons that we've been doing this, did something that we've probably maybe only done once or twice. And that is, after we recorded the show, we changed one of our options for something else. I think whatever we say here, we've already made the decision. Nothing else is going to change our mind. And that was swapping out the Jags in place of the Titans. And that ended up not working out. So we could have ended up maybe 2-4 in one 2-3 in one contest and 3-2 in the other. So I think for one, we should probably stop doing that, because I think we do a really good job between both of us of explaining our reasonings of why we like something in the first place. And if it was left off the card, it was left off the card for a reason. Number 2, I think you and I, we've also never done this, and maybe we should. We don't find commonality in a lot of things, because you handicap very differently than I do. No one is wrong. No one is better. That's not the point. Point is, if you feel strongly about something, maybe we should try convincing the other of the other one. Because there is a couple games I liked last week that you didn't, a couple games you liked last week that I didn't, that we could potentially have had a better card if, like, you know what, your reasoning makes sense. And one of those was fading, what was it, the Texans? That ended up being a push.
Yeah, I like the Falcons. I did.
Still,
but you know what?
But I ended up much better than a 0.
It is, but that game could have went either way. And that's kind of how I like to leave those coin flip games off, in my opinion, usually. So it wasn't like I loved fading this Texans team that I've been so enamored with. It was just more of a play against the hype, thinking that the Falcons were worth a little bit more. But watching that
it's less so about the actual matchup itself for the Houston, and more of like, if we and I aren't agreeing, then I think we need to revert to, you like something that I don't, let's talk about it a little bit deeper. Maybe I can convince you your side, or vice versa, and maybe we can come up with a stronger card. It's something that we've never done, and if you're trying something different this week for your personal best bets, then maybe we should try something different for this, and maybe we can come out better. What do you think?
I would agree.
All right, so then let's go ahead. Just a reminder of what it is that we are doing. We are putting together 5 against the spread contest picks in the NFL. These are set lines that are released every single Wednesday. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet. Automatically in is my best bet. And then together we come up with the other 3, which has been a little bit different, to say the least. But we are rolling with, we're going to do it again. This is why it's the NFL. Every week is a new opportunity to try to get better and improve. Kelly, I agree with your best bet, and it's also part of our Survivor pick this week for our girl gang. So what are you rolling with?
Now I've got way too many windows open here. I was trying to pull up the look-ahead lines because I wanted to talk about this, because we talked about this last week with the Bengals possibly being a buy low spot. I know I was going to talk you out of your best bet, but I thought this one was really interesting. Arizona at the Los Angeles Rams. Look-ahead line was 4.5, and now it's 7. And that's because I don't think people thought the Rams were going to be as good this year. And I know maybe on paper they aren't as good as we think they are, but they are to me. And there's a reason why they were my best bet last week. They had multiple opportunities to cover that game. They should have been up at half. I'm just going to leave it at that and not dwell on it. But let's look at Arizona, right? Jonathan Gannon, where did he come from? NFC East defensive coordinator. Remember how they covered those first 3 games? Well, those were against NFC East opponents. Kind of weird, right? And then they played San Francisco, and then they kind of got worked in the second half by the Bengals. Now, I'm not saying the Cardinals aren't trying, right? They're not tanking like everybody thought that they were going to. But I don't think that Sean McVay, coming off a loss versus a divisional foe, is going to coach like he did last week. Rams 11-2 straight up against the Cardinals, and that is why I do like them for our survivor pick. But why I'm willing to lay the 7 with them here is a little bit more entailed. Now, we've got Matthew Stafford, who is, well, my age, right? The joke was to start the season, he can't relate to most of his receivers, guys like Puka and so forth that are 22, 23 years old. But something started clicking a couple weeks ago with some of those younger receivers once Cooper Kupp was out. Well, guess what? Cooper Kupp is back. 8 catches last week, over 100 yards. I think this Rams team has started clicking and is a little bit better than we thought that they were going to be. And Rams off a loss is always something I'm looking forward to betting, especially when they were held scoreless in the second half, Pam. That goal line stand last week, that gave the Cards the lead. Want to talk about that? To turn around and throw a pick 6. That's what happens when you have a quarterback like Josh Dobbs. Obviously, he had 3 turnovers. Do I expect him to have them against this Rams defense? Maybe. I really expect this Rams defense to come to play. I laid the 7 personally with the Rams. They are my best bet this week.
I definitely don't disagree with that at all. I literally have like no opposition to say on that. But I will come back with saying that no, I would not have been talked off my best bet last week with the Cardinals. And I have been plagued kind of by these unfortunate incidences of one of the reasons why I backed the Cardinals was because of running back James Conner. He goes out in the first half of the game, and that really changes the dynamic. When your RB1 is no longer an option, well, now, yeah, you are relying a little bit more on Josh Dobbs. So now that he is placed on IR, that is an additional reason for you to continue to fade the Cardinals at this point. My best bet is going to be the Chargers plus 2.5 at home to the Cowboys. This is a Monday night football game. And I really don't like to bet Monday night football games because I get so anxious having to wait the entire weekend for this matchup. But Chargers as a favorite, don't want nothing to do with it. Chargers as a dog, I am absolutely sold, automatically looking to that every single time. 8-3 as a dog since the 2021 season with Herbert behind center. So more so looking at the Chargers defense, they are second in the league for sacks plus takeaways, thanks to linebacker Khalil Mack, who is now tied for the second most sacks, with all of his sacks coming just last week at home to the Las Vegas Raiders. I believe in a thing called momentum, and I'm going to believe that he has the ability to roll that into because he is obviously one of the best defensive linebackers in the NFL year after year. And especially now that you're going up against a Dallas quarterback in Dak Prescott, who in his 3 road games, 4 interceptions and 5 sacks. This is a clear mismatch for me, in my opinion. But then it's also more so because of that Dallas offense. They have a bunch of second half troubles. They are scoring a touchdown. They have scored. The Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott behind center this season has scored a touchdown on only 3 of 26 possessions in the second half. That's 29th worst in the league. That tells me that if Justin Herbert does happen to fall behind in the first half, I am not at all going to be worried because there's a huge opportunity for them to play catch up in the second half because of the offensive woes that Dallas is having there in the later part of the game. My worry, though, is that the Chargers are 25th in giving up touchdowns, but Arizona was 27th, and Dallas against the Cardinals was only able to put up 2 field goals. So then, no longer a worry. It is absolutely imperative for the Chargers to start this game strong, and they absolutely can't because not only are they getting back running back Austin Eckler, but he's going to help Herbert with some of those underneath passes. That receiving prop is something that I would be considering because Dallas does have a good rush defense. So look to Eckler in the receiving prop market. But wide receiver Keenan Allen also, this is the best wideout the Dallas defense has faced paired with a good quarterback play. So I'm going to back the Chargers plus 2.5 at home to the Cowboys for my best bet, which is a Monday night football game. What do you think?
Yeah, Chargers off a bye. I don't hate that. Here's my problem, Pam. We talked about some of my woes this year and why I think the public, if you will, is doing so well. Because teams that are passing the eye test are passing the eye test at a much more significant rate, right? Let's look at this. Best teams on third down: Niners, Dolphins, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. They're also really great on fourth down. And they also usually don't even have to get there because they're completing it over 70% on third down. Let's look at best in passing efficiency: Niners, Dolphins, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. Those teams, when the cream is at the top, right? And I think that these two teams on a neutral field, pick them as the number. I don't think there's a ton of value here in the Chargers necessarily. I put them in a teaser. I thought they were a great spot. But the other difference between those 5 teams that I named, they have great head coaches. Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. You know who these two have? This is like the bonehead game of the week. Mike Harkey versus Brandon Staley. Like, gross me out. I will give the Chargers a slight nod, having Kellen Moore, who was previously with the Cowboys, now is OC. Dan Quinn, though, really great defensive coordinator. I got to give Dallas a nod here with the defensive side of things, but I don't hate it. I just hate the fact that I cannot get past a few like little just bumps in the road. Like, adversity and me just don't go well. And when I get frustrated, then I get really frustrated. So again, that thinking long, thinking wrong thing. Chargers teaser. Why would I even want to mess with the side here? Home team, primetime game, Monday Night Football. If you get blown out, you lose by 2 touchdowns at home, so be it. But I don't see it happening. Chargers have been in every single one-score game so far this year.
Well, then maybe here's what I'm also going to do something different. I was saying before we started this show to the producers that I actually liked a lot of games this week. So I was like, I don't really have a best bet yet. So I'm going to go ahead and leave Chargers off as my best bet for now. And then maybe I can feel a little bit strongly once I start talking about some of these games.
Okay.
Can I entice you then on the Texans as an underdog to the Saints? First off,
Yes.
Do you agree or no?
Oh, I do.
So I'll talk about it then. I'm a big believer in Houston quarterback CJ Stroud. I have been preseason. I loved him in college. He was he didn't throw interceptions in college, and go figure, he's not throwing interceptions in the NFL. Still has not thrown an interception this season, extending the NFL record of pass attempts without an interception to open a career 186 pass attempts. The typical splits. This is what you see more often than not from quarterbacks, especially a rookie quarterback in the NFL. When kept clean, Stroud is 3rd in yards per pass attempt, throwing 9.2, 7 touchdowns compared to 28th in yards per pass attempt, and only 1 touchdown when he is pressured. Now, what I love about the Texans here is you have to compare the strength of schedule. This really matters. This is Stroud doing this well, performing this well as a rookie quarterback on kind of a really lackluster offensive team versus top 10 defenses for sack percentage. Baltimore, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh. That's 3 opponents in 5 games that they have faced. 2 of those were at home. New Orleans, what quarterbacks have they faced? Ryan Tannehill, Bryce Young, Jordan Love, Mac Jones. And Baker Mayfield, they allowed 3 passing touchdowns from him. Yes, CJ Stroud, a rookie in only halfway into his first season, is the best quarterback the Saints would have seen yet. And the Saints coming off a blowout win. I love you like to do those where you fade teams that are like looking really good the week before. Well, there's a reason why it's a 1-point spread this time around.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there, Pam. I like this Texans team. I like what I've seen from CJ Stroud so far. We know how hard it is to win back-to-back road games. Look, this looks like a dead-on under game, just like the other Saints 5 games have been. Houston's only giving up 14.6 points per game in the last 3 weeks as well. So look, if this looks like a 17-16 type of slugfest, I of course like the underdog here at home.
So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Do you want to put that into our card automatically?
Yeah, I think so. It's nice when we agree.
It is nice when you agree. All right, another option that I have on deck. Actually, what is your second best? If it's not the Rams, then what's your second best?
It's the Colts. Ariel and I were talking about this with you in our Survivor because Jacksonville, when I started to map out our Survivor, I put Jacksonville on the list as a possible week to use them. If you remember, I lost my best bet week 1 in this matchup. Jags final score ended up being 31-21, but that was not indicative of how the game went, right? Obviously, Anthony Richardson got knocked out on the goal line. Insert Gardner Minshew, and Shane Steichen throws it 3 times in a row on the goal line. I don't understand what the hell that was. But bottom line, Jacksonville needed to score 14 in the fourth quarter to win that game. I do think right now the Colts are more well-rounded, right? You've got Zach Moss running the ball. Jonathan Taylor has fresh legs. Obviously, we know Richardson is going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks here. But I do think Gardner Minshew is a good backup quarterback, and we know what he is capable of, right? And I don't think that Shane Steichen is going to put him in a bad position. Something I keep hearing a lot of, so I don't want to harp on this too much, but there is something to it. The Jags spent 2 weeks in London. Jet lag is a real thing. Now, obviously, they're flying their own plane. They're going to be back. They're going to have plenty of time to get fresh before then, but it's just like a little asterisk there. But hey, look, I think the Jags maybe are kind of feeling themselves, right? They just upset the Bills, back-to-back wins. Trevor Lawrence, though, still just 3 touchdown passes in his last 4 games. Calvin Ridley, fun fact, Pam, and I know this because he's on my fantasy team. He leads the NFL in dropped passes.
Yeah.
You've got to be pretty frustrated being a Jags fan. This one opened 5.5. Indianapolis down to 4.5 in the contest, and it's going to be even lower by kickoff. I know this is going to be a very popular upset special, if you will, come Sunday, but I'm okay with that.
So remember last week how I was like, there's literally no reason to back the Jags other than they were in London, and it ended up being the case. And right now, there's no reason to back the Colts other than the Jags are coming back from London. Because for me, I'm actually opposite on this one, and I do love the Jags because I'm continuing on with that idea of momentum. The Jags have not lost a home game to Indianapolis since 2014. 8 straight wins, 8 straight covers. And it's more about Trevor Lawrence. You're talking about how he only has 3 touchdowns in his last few games. Well, he's actually coming off his best performance. 315 passing yards is what I'm more concerned with rather than passing scores because they can also get the production via the ground game through Travis Etienne. But I want him to total touchdowns. Of those, though, were 12 rushing scores. And as mentioned, Travis Etienne can come in and fill in the gap for that. So I do like the Jags to come out with the win. The cover is a little bit more suspect to me, but I would be leaning on the side of Jags cover -4 rather than the Colts to be coming out. It has nothing to do with whether it's Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson. I would actually be more inclined if it was Richardson, of course, but I like the Jags at home. So maybe we can table this one. We have absolutely nothing else, and the caveat could be just like last week. You back the Jags because they're in London. Well, this time you fade the Jags because they're coming back from London. Then let me go ahead and see what we think about. Okay. I am back to being a Bears fan.
Oh, no, I want nothing to do with this trash fest of a game after the Bears looked so good on Thursday night. We can just skip it. Because I'd actually try to make a case for the Vikings laying points on the road, which is even grosser than you wanted to take the Bears.
Well, so I do want to talk about it because, yes, in the girl chat, I said, hey, can we do the Bears for Survivor? And you're like, not only is that crazy, that is stupid. I don't agree at all. I think the Bears could definitely come out with the win. And I do want to talk about it just so I can throw it out there and put it into the ethers. You're talking about the Bears looked so good last week. It is now in 2 weeks that they have looked so good. The tides have definitely turned. Justin Fields has arrived. Finally, as a Bears fan, I can finally say that. In his last 2 weeks, third in the league for yards per drive, averaging 42 yards per drive. Now, with the newfound explosiveness, second behind only the Dolphins to have a gain of 20-plus yards. And fun fact for you, for the Fields, second quarterback to ever throw 4 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. Not only it's the eye test, right? It's not that they're just putting up numbers. It's actually that you can see that the progression has been made. His footwork is so clean right now. He is reading the defenses better. He can build momentum on that this week because Minnesota blitzes at the highest rate in the league. Fields is so dang good against the blitz. 8.3 yards per pass attempt, 4 passing touchdowns. Doubles his touchdown rate compared to when he is not blitzed. And that connection, I talked about it last week. That was one of my player props. DJ Moore, Fields, explosion 2.0. 19 targets, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. This reminds me of Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson 2.0, except Jefferson is now out on IR. What is next for the Vikings offense? We have no idea what this team looks like without Justin Jefferson on the field. He leads in receptions, yards after the catch since 2020 for this offense. Same going halfway into the season now. You take him out of the equation, what the heck is Kirk Cousins going to do? Now you have Justin Fields on the other side of the ball who can actually ball? You know what? I just made it because you won't do it. Bears is my best bet. Ball!
You can take Bears as your best bet all you want. Justin Jefferson, while he is out for 4 weeks due to a hamstring, so is Khalil Herbert. No one is talking about how Chicago is going to move the ball downfield. Sure, they exploited a bad Commanders secondary. And speaking of secondaries, the Bears secondary is an absolute liability. Mark my words, the Bears are garbage in the division. They do not win divisional games. They have not for decades. I watch this division more than any other one, and I don't know why. Probably because I used to do Minnesota radio, and I date a Packers fan, and I work for Lions fans, and I'm stuck with all these Bears fans who every single year get their hopes up, and every single year they are pained. These people, their hopes are sky high after what they saw from DJ Moore and Justin Fields last week, Pam, but it was an anomaly. I'm telling you right now, let's look to look at.
You're saying 2 weeks is an anomaly? 2 weeks is an anomaly?
Wasn't. Bears 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 divisional home games and have allowed
season high. Justin Fields became the quarterback that he is now. That was before Justin Fields found his passing game.
No. This man did not go from Davis Mills to Tom Brady in the last 2 games. That's not what happened here. What happened here is teams got caught sleeping on this mediocre Bears team. Let me pull up this line. I want to see the look-ahead line. The look-ahead line.
What the hell do you think the Vikings are? A mediocre team.
Okay, then tell me why.
One of the worst secondaries in the league.
Okay, so why is the line 2.5 when the look-ahead line was 1? In August, the line was Vikings at Chicago -1. Why? After what we've seen 6 weeks into the year,
now the Bears are getting 2.5, and now the Bears are 2.5. So that's
it's
contradicting what you're saying. It is
13 final. You book it right now. I'm telling you. I gave me even more. I wanted to play the Vikings.
Hold on though. You just said that the Vikings were -1. Now they're -2.5. So how is that helpful to what?
That's to tell you. If the Bears have somehow turned a corner, why are they more favorable? That doesn't make sense. If the Vikings,
it's a big question mark.
But no Justin Jefferson. This is with both healthy teams. It was Vikings -1, August 6th when the Superbook made me this graphic, okay? So now, those lines are not the end-all be-all. But what has happened over the last 6 weeks? That's what I want to know. What has happened over the last 6 weeks that has caused this now to be Vikings? They just lost on an egregious call. The refs should have called on a defensive pass interference to possibly beat the Chiefs. They have lost. They're 0-4 in one-score games this year, Pam. That's the difference maker. I'm telling you right now, I understand why we can say that all of a sudden the Bears now pass the eye test, but I'm not seeing it. I have a couple other things I wanted to pull up too, but go ahead and tell me what you just found.
Catch that as my best bet then. All right, I'm going to go with my third best bet. And this one, there's like no talking me off of this one. Pretty sure this is it. Third time's the charm. What is it? This porridge is too cold. This porridge is too hot. Okay, I'm riding with the Lions -3 on the road to the Bucs. All right, you're going to not like that either. But it's back to my point that I made last week. It is back to my point of what I made last week about
Bucs love. I really don't. I don't understand any of this Bucs love whatsoever. Zero. I wrote down earlier in the week, I said, Bucs plus 4.5. Let me look at it. And now it's 3. And I'm going, why does everybody love this Bucs team? Why?
Back to my point that I made last week about the Lions. The Detroit is the most complete offense. Quarterback Jared Goff, 4th in YPA, 6th best completion percentage. Running back David Montgomery, 9th in yards after contact. Even tight end, Sam Laporta, graded top 10 on PFS amongst all tight ends for receiving grades. And now they have defensive end they have on their defense, Aiden Hutchinson, who leads in total pressures. I'm not even talking about sacks. There is no flaw really with this team. The one flaw that you can probably say is Jared Goff on the road. I'll talk about that in a minute because I expect Tampa Bay to be playing from behind. And I'm going to write an article about this. It's going to be an option. Detroit actually leads in first quarter points scored, 3rd in the first half of points scored this season, outscoring opponents 45-10 in the first quarter, outscoring opponents 89-37 in the first half. That includes games at KC, at Lambeau. Tampa in 4 games in the first quarter, 0 touchdowns, 2 field goals, shut out twice, back-to-back weeks. Tampa Bay cannot run the ball, 2nd worst, rushing attempts resulting in a first down or touchdown, facing a stout top 5 rushing defense. Anyway, you're not going to be able to run the ball. So now you're asking Baker Mayfield to make plays in the air. Is he going to be that go-to guy, play from behind guy? he had the fewest attempts, lowest completion, 1 interception against the Eagles. Detroit, in my opinion, is more of a complete defense than the Eagles because of how vulnerable that Eagles secondary is. There's really not a flaw with this Detroit team right now. Now, the concern is Jared Goff splits. 7 touchdowns at home, 2 away. Why I'm not worried about that? Because they do have a healthy running back, David Montgomery.
I want to see if Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be playing. I wanted to see if he got cleared.
That's why I put the Lions on our card last week, because it doesn't matter to me who you're throwing to. St. Brown is good. He wasn't there last week and didn't make him.
I do think he's their best receiver, obviously. So that was part of my rationale here. This is why I just figured out why everybody is rushing to bet Tampa Bay. At least I think it's going to be the sharp square pick of the week. So all the sharp guys are going to take the Bucs here because they're off a bye. They're now in first place in the NFC South. I don't get it. This is an average team. As all the guys that are 10 years younger than me that say stupid shit to me on Twitter, mid. They are mid. Okay? I've watched this team for the last 3 years that I've lived in the state of Florida. And even with Tom Brady, they were mid. And the reason why, because this offense is not good. Mike Evans, good. Okay? Godwin, good. Baker Mayfield, not good. Offensive line, not good. There is a problem. They cannot get the running game going. They have not shown me anything that makes me want to back them here as a home dog. Todd Bowles, what did I see from him in that Philadelphia game? This was the same type of scenario. If you remember, I took the Bucs +6, closed 3.5. I got my CLV trophy. I look like a genius until the game started. And then what happened? Well, that's right. The Eagles offense went up and down the field, even with 2 interceptions, and smoked the Bucs. The reason why is because this offense is not built to play from behind. You have a Lions team here, 12-3 in the 15 games. The one game they didn't win, my favorite bet that I didn't give out we played it on the show, but I didn't give it out as my best bet because it didn't become my best bet till Saturday. That was a whole nother thing, but I like the Seahawks +5.5 in that one. And the reason why was because I thought that the Lions were getting a little bit too much love in the marketplace. The fact that they lost that game was kind of shocking, if we're being honest. I thought it was going to be a field goal game. But let's talk about who Detroit has played and who Tampa has played. Detroit, top 10 on both sides of the ball. Chiefs, the Packers, the Falcons. Maybe the Packers are not that good, but they absolutely wrecked them in Green Bay. And that is not something Detroit has historically done. So, look, they put up 4-2 against Carolina without Jahmyr Gibbs, without Amon-Ra St. Brown. Probably
because they have so much depth in they have so much depth in all positions. It is because of Dan Campbell. He is an offensive play genius. And why we have seen only Jared Goff, you can talk about his road splits all you want. How much of that has to do with his old team? Like, now he's with a coach who actually knows what his strengths and weaknesses are, and he still only has 1 interception. So what if he doesn't have 300 yards?
Jared Goff? Did we forget he marched his little ass into Raymond James Stadium and won in 2020? Did we all forget about that? Yeah, as a Rams quarterback, everybody forgets about that kind of stuff. But no, he absolutely did.
Officially, then Lions is my best bet. Don't say I never take a favorite, because that is it. I wanted the Lions.
Should have had my favorite.
That was my best bet last week. All my best bets. There you go. I am riding with the Lions then. So automatically, and is Kelly's best bet of Rams -7 at the Cardinals. My best bet is now officially Lions -3 at the Bucs. And then together we so far agree on Texans +1 against the Saints. Is there any other option that you like? High up there.
Let's see. The Colts I already gave you why I liked them. I kind of lean towards the Bengals -3 here. You talked about turning a corner. I don't want to quite say that Cincinnati turned a corner over have you watched that game? Okay, so if you watch that Cardinals game, Cardinals made a couple mistakes, shot themselves in the foot, as you mentioned, kind of became one-dimensional after James Conner went down. But I'm not sure that Cincinnati necessarily turned a corner or if they learned how to play with Joe Burrow's injury. And that's kind of why I was looking at laying the points here with them. 2.5 to 3, we all know, is a big jump here. Are the Seahawks good, ma'am? I don't know. Do you think they're good?
They're the second best sack production in the league.
I mean, I don't have them as a top 5 offense, and I don't have them as a bottom 5 offense. I have them kind of in the middle of the road. But you're right. They have a ton of talent in the defensive backfield, 22 in pass defense. And
they have a really good offensive line.
They do. And
that's offensive line, second best in sack production.
But as far as their resume, outside of beating the Lions, I haven't really been that impressed with them. So what? They went into MetLife and beat an abysmal Giants team. They barely got the cover against the Panthers. If you remember, I like the Panthers in that spot. You kept me off of them. But I do not think that they are quite who we think they are. I think they're kind of more of like a shell of this team that we were really high on last year. Remember Geno Smith? All of a sudden, everybody fell in love with them. And now they kind of fixed some of those defensive woes, but now the offense isn't as good. So I kind of did lean towards Cincinnati in a play against Seattle here. And that is not usually where I like to go. You know, you'll hear me say that from time to time. Oh, I'm playing against said team. But I do think there was something different I saw from Cincinnati. And it very well could have been that they were playing the Cardinals last week. You know, they had 3 touchdowns, which is more than they had.
I'm gonna say a lot of it has to do with that, because now I'm looking in Arizona, they looked, yes, and maybe it was a bad wager on me, but like Arizona last in the NFL in pressure rate, last in the NFL in blitz rate, plays man coverage at the 8th lowest rate in the NFL. Seattle's complete opposite of that. Now we're gonna potentially see like Joe Burrow go back to the shell of himself that he was prior to playing Arizona, because Seattle is 8th in the league in pressure rate, 16th in blitz rate, and they play man coverage at the 3rd lowest. So there's a potential here that all the crap that we saw from Burrow, we're going to see it's going to revert right back to this week. And it's purely because of the defensive line, that defensive front. If it's not for that, then yeah, I agree with you that maybe Joe Burrow found a way.
Yeah, and then, you know, I know we talked about the Pats because I suggested the Raiders. Well, I just had them on my list. I didn't really want to use the Raiders for Survivor, but I said, if we don't want to go with everybody else and being on the Rams for Survivor, let's look at the Raiders. This is the biggest favorite they're going to be all year. We have Mac Jones, who's 0-12 against the spread. Like, let's just go right out there, march out with Jimmy G. But then I look at Josh. I just went off on Brandon Staley. Let's look at Josh McDaniels. I want to punch him in the face for some of his coaching decisions. Like, I just want to shake him and be like, what are you doing through the TV? Like, when Grandma the other night, and Grandma goes, I'm going to bed. I'm like, I should have listened to Grandma. She knew how this crappy game was going to end. Jimmy G is an absolute liability. He's going to turn the ball over at least 2 times against this defense.
At least, yeah, a couple times. We don't even know if he's playing 100% healthy. Then if you're talking about coaching being a scenario, then what about backing a really good coach who has a terrible quarterback, but they have a good defense I will not bet the Jets. What if I really like the Jets this week?
What is that? I have lost my ass betting against the Eagles, okay? I've bet against the Eagles twice this year. It has not been fun for me. Yeah.
7 points on the road. All right, Zach Wilson. I am making a case to defend Zach Wilson. Oh my God. Mark this, bookmark this right now.
I'm the only non-Zach Wilson hater, I think.
I have been the biggest opponent of him since college. So let's go back. Zach Wilson, though, however, in back-to-back games, throwing 72 plus completion, 1 interception in his last 3 games. If Wilson, this is the bare minimum. This is as basic as you could get. If you can get Zach Wilson to be just normal, a normal quarterback who doesn't really do a lot of craziness, if he can keep on to just this bare minimum basic, the Philadelphia secondary, it is absolutely nothing to rave over. They allowed 316 passing yards to Mac Jones. Mac Jones is horrendous. They gave up 290 to Sam Howell. Sam Howell cannot stay upright. There's a potential here that this train that Zach Wilson has going, he can continue on for at least one more stop. And if he can just manage that, then the Jets defense is going to manage the rest. 8th best in opponent yards per pass attempt. Hasn't allowed more than 2 passing touchdowns since week 3 of last year. Jalen Hurts. Yes, you're talking about losing your ass betting against the Eagles, but he's still not elite right now with that passing game. 4 interceptions to 6 passing touchdowns. 3 of those interceptions came on the road. Now, looking between the quarterbacks that the Jets have faced, between Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, 5 combined interceptions. There is a prop that I do like, though, Jalen Hurts over rushing, because he's going to have to run for his life going against this pass rush and try to reduce some of that potential for interceptions. Getting the Jets at home, who's kind of building off of some of the momentum. Zach Wilson, be normal.
I mean, it's ugly. I just told you I don't want to bet against the Eagles, but I also don't disagree with anything you've just said. I will say I would call that an emotional win in Denver, right? Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton, there was some words exchanged. They snapped a 3-game losing streak. I didn't write down a lot of notes on this game, Pam, because I frankly was like, listen, I don't think the Eagles are elite. Yes, they are great on third down, but they're not elite. Yep. And I've been saying that, yet I have to keep eating my words. Do you know how many Eagles fans love to text me? My girlfriend Caitlin, after the Bucs game, screaming at me, you better say nice things about the Eagles this week. I go, there's nothing nice to say. I'm not that impressed with this team. That being said, the Jets defense is about the only thing I'm impressed with. Zach Wilson, I think he's a competent quarterback. I've never understood all the hate. I don't think that he is ever going to be good, but I think he's competent. And that's something you can't say about 16 other quarterbacks in the league, right? And that's just honest to God. Eagles have a couple of weaknesses, right? And that pass defense is one of them in yards allowed. That is kind of going to be the caveat here. I think the Jets have a really solid defense. We know this. I thought we'd see some regression from Philadelphia being the Super Bowl loser, but so far we haven't. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Breece Hall can run all over this Philadelphia Eagles team, but we're going to have to see something from the Jets and something not in teams against teams named the Broncos.
You want to talk about look-ahead lines? The Eagles were 1-point favorites.
Well, yes, because Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be the quarterback. So here's my next question. Here's my next question. Do you think that Zach Wilson is a 6-point drop-off from that? No, I don't. I would say a 4.5-point drop-off.
After seeing how the Jets played against the Bills and Patrick Mahomes, I don't care about who's behind center.
At home, you're absolutely right. They're a different team at home. I'm okay with using the Jets. Am I going to even remotely touch that in real life? No, because I'm going to have to take out a second mortgage if this keeps up.
Well, we need something for the contest card, and we both agree, and it is Jets at home, so there's not many opportunities. There are not a lot of opportunities where you can back Zach Wilson against a vulnerable secondary in the Eagles. Yeah. Who's going to want that one? Especially since you said that the
just me. I need to take a shower.
Okay. So I think right at this point we have a lot of leans with each other. Any opinion on Washington Falcons?
Oh God.
Oh, he just hates everything that's coming out of my mouth.
And this is just such a trash week. I mean, we got Chicago, Minnesota, we got Atlanta, Washington. I'm like, okay, what's to love? What is to love?
But what is it? Okay, so there's
sloppy, right?
Hold on.
Rivera.
You're like generalizing right now. Everything is match dependent. There's 2 reasons why Washington can have success this week against the Falcons. Number 1, Sam Howell absolutely wrecked. Absolutely terrible. All the sacks, 29 actually, most in team history through 5 games. Tied for 4th most through 5 games ever. Still, they have 2 wins. Washington has 2 wins. 2 of those 3 losses that they have were against the Eagles and the Bills. At least the Eagles, yes, vulnerable secondary. They are still a very good team. They have the experience and they have the talent and the pass rush and the defense and all that. The Bills, also a good team. But now they're facing an Atlanta defense who doesn't get pressure, 26th in the league, doesn't get sacks, absolute dead last in the NFL for sack percentage. Reason number 2 why Sam Howell and the Washington offense can excel. Washington, or the team can excel. Washington pass rush against Desmond Ridder. 7th most sacks produced. Defensive end Chase Young could have an absolute great game because Ridder versus the only other, they've only played 1, versus the only other top 10 pass rush in their game so far was Green Bay. Pressured on 50% of his dropbacks, 3.6 yards per pass attempt, 1 interception, his lowest under pressure completion yet of 36%. That is the only top 10 pass rush that they have faced. And now you get Chase Young and Montez Sweat. This could be like a 21-20 game.
Yeah, it could be. I teased the Commanders. I just had a look. I was like, did I do that to myself? I did do that to myself. This is a great teaser week, Pam. Packers, Texans, Commies, Chargers. Sign me up for all the teasers. Listen, is this a buy low spot on the Commies? Sure. And that's about all I've got. Like, yeah, could they look any worse I mean, Desmond Ritter silenced the haters there in Atlanta for another day, or maybe until this weekend. Ron Rivera, man, just really disappointed in some of his coaching blunders, if we're being honest. I expected better from him. Let's put it that way. There's a couple of coaches I expect better from him. I mean, Sam Howell's running for his life. That absolutely terrifies me, especially
then look,
getting beat up by
right now. Desmond Ritter. You said right now that Desmond Ritter's coming off his best game, and he looks so good and impressive, right? Yes, he had his best. He had his best everything since he's been a quarterback, and they still only won the game by 2. Now you're going up against a much more competent defense, stronger defense in Washington.
All right.
Is there anything else that you love? Because
I didn't love anything this week. I liked a lot of favorites. I had Vikings written down, Rams written down, Bengals written down, Lions written down. Colts is the only dog. Like, I was like, what am I missing here? What am I missing?
Like, we're opposite again.
Yeah, of course we are. I don't understand the Jags love. But
it's not like I said, it's just I understand my Jags team. This is a good chance for them. I understand.
Jags go 1-15 as a favorite if they won as an underdog in its previous game. I hope they obliterate everybody that takes them in Survivor. Look, do we want to lay it with Miami?
Fine. Do you want to
sure love Miami?
Colts are super excited on. You seem that's like the only other game that you seem super like high on. Do you want to just plug that in and call it a day?
Yeah, because I don't want to take the Giants, Pam. I don't want to lay it with Miami right now in that spot. I mean, how high can this line go? I mean, Carolina has just been absolutely garbage. So it's Miami or path there.
Information. You're saying that the Jags are 1 and whatever after coming off of an underdog win, but they're also 8 straight wins, 8 straight covers against the Colts.
They own the Colts, and that's the scary part here, right? Like, it used to be. Pam, this is where I think I also get super frustrated. When I started learning how to handicap and we would talk about situations, whether it be at WagerTalk or Don Best, it was like almost automatic there. If you played overseas, we faded you the next week. It was just like almost like a blind bet, right? Even though it was built into the line. And it worked out well for us. I think some of those old adages just aren't working in the new NFL. And the new NFL being some of these
easier, more efficient.
Travel's easier, more efficient, right? Like, there used to be a point when the guys on the West Coast, when they traveled east, you just faded them on an early morning game because their bodies weren't ready. These guys are flying on private jets. Like, that kind of stuff is no longer into play. We have new coaches, like I said, Kyle Shanahan, like Mike McDaniel. We have guys that are younger than me coaching NFL teams that are absolutely analytical geniuses. And where we used to see a ton of parity in college football, now we're starting to see a little less parity in college football. Why? Because of NIL and the transfer portal. Now all of a sudden we're seeing more parity in the NFL because of these coaches, because of the way that we're running new offensive schemes. I mean, I am just kind of in a conundrum this year. And I think the biggest thing you can do as a handicapper is adapt and adapt quickly, right? And that's what I'm trying to do here. So for me,
then here's a proposal. I don't think you're going to like it, but it's weird on this podcast for like almost an hour. The heck? All right. So what if we just plug in Chargers plus 2.5 at home to the Cowboys, because that was initially my best bet.
Deal.
And I'm probably going to end up betting both. And since it's Monday, I have all the time in the world to think about it. Because Dak Prescott, not good. Not good at football.
Chargers, Jets, Texans, Rams, Lions.
Yes. Those are our five contest picks against the spread. Kelly's best bet, Rams at home to that part again. And those are our 5 against the spread contest picks in the NFL this week. Kelly's best bet, Rams -7 at home to the Cardinals. My best bet, Lions -3 at Bucks. The Texans +1 against the Saints. The Eagles at the Jets. Jets +7 at home to the Eagles. And Chargers +2.5 to the Cowboys for Monday Night Football. Those are our 5 against the spread picks. We're going to do better this week than 1 and 4. We're not changing our card. And our best bets are going to do better. Do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter at Kelly in Vegas. You can follow me on Twitter at Pamela M35. And that does it for another episode of Stacked.